guys, my name is Viola and welcome back to another lesson of the basics of staff notation. Finally, we are going to begin with staff lines today, and it is not a difficult topic as some of you might have been thinking all this while. Just think of it as another language that you're learning, and I will try my best to explain it to you in the simplest way possible. So these are my 5 staff lines. And we have to remember that we count these 5 staff lines from down to up. So it will go 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Similarly, we have spaces in between these 2 staff lines, between 2 staff lines. So that is also counted down to up. And we have only 4 spaces. So 5 lines and 4 spaces, that makes up a staff. The staff lines alone cannot tell us which tones we have to play or which notes we have to play. So we have clefs that represent the higher register and the lower registers. So we learn about the clefs first and then we'll see how to place the notes on them. We have different kinds of clefs, but for now we'll learn the treble and the bass clef. So the treble clef being the clef that represents middle C and above, and the bass clef being the clef that represents middle C and below. So we'll first see how to draw them. This is the treble clef. There are 2 ways of drawing it. I'll show you both. So we start on the 2nd line. We can touch the 3rd line. Again, touch the 1st line. Go right up and come down. But if you find this difficult, then there's another way you can draw it. So you first draw a J from slightly above the staff lines to slightly below the staff lines, and then join the top tip of the J to the 4th line. Now continue this and draw a curve that joins the 1st line. Now again continue from the 1st line and join it to the 3rd line. And that's it. You're done. So since this has more steps, maybe you could find that easy. But if you like a freehand drawing, then this would be easier for you. Up to you. You can choose. Now let's move on and see how the notes are placed on the treble clef. As I mentioned earlier, the treble clef is used to represent notes from middle C and above. So I'll write all the notes in the middle and the higher register in the treble clef. So, middle C is written here. These lines that I draw are called leisure lines, and they are used to show or draw notes that go beyond the staff lines. While drawing leisure lines, remember to keep the distance between these 2 lines the same as the distance between the other staff lines. So no matter how many ever leisure lines I draw, the distance has to be the same, and the lines have to be parallel to each other. Now let's carry on. I've drawn the middle C line here, and I'll just use whole notes or semi-briefs for convenience. So all I have to remember when I draw notes, that on a line, my note has to be half on top and half down. I cannot draw it this way or any other way. So if I have 2 lines, I cannot draw one big circle this way. That's wrong, because it gets difficult to read. Also, if I have a space note, I have to make sure that my note is between the 2 lines, like this. That's all you have to remember when you draw notes. Now, let's look at the staff line. So I've drawn the middle C for you, and when you go steps up, step up just means that you move from the C, from the line to the next space, from the space to the next line, again from the line to the next space, and so on and so forth. So I have a C here, middle C. The next note in the space is going to be D. Again, the next note on the line is going to be E. In the space will be F, G on the line, A in the space, B on the line, C in the space. Now if you notice, we have the middle C here and we've reached another C. So this is a C on the next octave, and it's not going to mean any other C. So if I represent this as middle C, it's always going to remain middle C in the treble clef. So I finished on C. This can also be called treble C. And then I continue with D, E, and F, and G. So these are my notes that I get without drawing leisure lines. Of course, I can go beyond these notes by drawing leisure lines, just the way I drew for middle C here. There are two ways of remembering the letter names of the treble clef. One of the ways is to just learn the letters as they are, like we discussed a little earlier, and read it with steps and other intervals. Or you can learn the names of lines separately and the names of spaces separately. Of course, the middle C doesn't come in that, but that's something you always need to remember. Remember that the middle C is here and it will always remain there, because this will help you find your way if you feel lost. Let's look at method 2. Of course, you can use both the methods interchangeably, but we'll do the second method now. So, counting from C, I know that C, the space becomes D, and this is E. So, I'll write the letter here as E, G, the line is G. So again, I skip and I get B. When I skip from B, I get D. And I skip from D and I get F. There's an easier way to remember this. This is what I usually do when I teach my kids. So I teach them with this sentence. Every good bird does fly. So I have E, G, B, D, F. There are other sentences like every good boy deserves fudge or something like that. You can find a few more sentences online. Choose the one that is easiest for you and something that will help you read the notes easily. Now moving on to spaces, I just have, again, now we know that the first line is E, so my space becomes a step up, so that's F. Now I skip from F and I go to A. Skip from A, I go to C. Skip from C, I get E. Oops. Okay, so it doesn't change, the method 1 does not change. It's just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and so on. It's still the same, but if you just want to remember the lines and spaces, lines separately and spaces separately, then you can use this. Now, the space is already a word, so we're not going to use any sentence for it, but we'll just keep it as it is. So this is for the lines of the treble clef, and this is the space. That was all for treble clef. Now let's look at bass clef. We know that bass clef is used to represent the notes from middle C and below. So first we'll see how to draw the bass clef. It's much easier than the treble clef. So I just draw a big dot on the fourth line. We know it, we count it from down to up. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. I draw a dot on the fourth line. Then I draw a curve touching the last line or the fifth line, and I come down this way. And then I draw 2 dots in the fourth and the third space. That's it. That is bass clef. Now in the bass clef, middle C is going to be up because it has to be used to draw the notes below middle C. So all the notes below middle C will come here. So my middle C is going to be here. Again, we use a leisure line to draw middle C in bass clef, and remember that when you draw a note, the line has to cut through the middle of the note, the center of the note. Let's move on. Again, we know that we can count it with steps and skips. So I'll first do method 2. We have G, B, D, F, and A. By counting backwards from C, I get C, B, A, and then we go backwards. So I skip down from A, I get F. I skip down from D, From F, I get D. From D, I get B. I skip down from B, I get G. Similarly, I can count the spaces. Now we know that this is A, so step down from A is going to be G. Skip down from G is going to be E. Skip down from E is C, and skip down from C is A. Now, if we look at it with steps, so if I count from G, I get, in steps, according to steps, I get G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. And of course, you can draw leisure lines and go beyond the staff lines again. Just as for treble clef, bass clef also has sentences to remember the lines and spaces. So let's see what they are. For the bass clef lines, I have great, big, dogs, fight, always. Do not interchange these two words, then you'll miss the names of the lines. It'll become G, B, D, A, F instead of F, A. So please do not interchange the words, the last two words. Similarly, for spaces, I have all cows eat grass. Or you can say all cars eat gas. Or you can just say ACE, G, if that's easier for you. ACE, ACE, G, ACE, G. That brings us to the end of the staff lines lesson. In case you want to draw the notes, you want to practice drawing them, and you want to practice the letter names of the treble and bass clef, then I'll put a link below to a book called Note Speller by John Shom. You can buy it on Amazon, and I'll put the link below in the description box. Also, if you want to just generally practice drawing notes, you can download the PDF of a manuscript sheet from another link that I'll put in the description box. If you found this lesson helpful, then do like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next lesson that's going to be about the grand staff. Bye-bye.